guys, so I'm going to start a new series called Tuesday Talks. I'm going to put up every probably Sunday, Monday as to what you guys want me to talk about. Whether it can be anything from advice to me talking about vampires to movie topics to what's in the news to just about anything you guys want me to talk about, I will talk about. Hudson, my dog is bugging my kitty. Hudson, come here. Up, up. See, hi. This week I figured I would talk about swearing, when it's socially acceptable, when it's not, what words you should use, what words you shouldn't use, because there are a couple you probably shouldn't use if you live in Canada or the United States. So, those of you who know me will know that I can have a mouth like a trucker, but there is always a time and a place for it. If I was going for tea with my grandma, I probably wouldn't swear to her. I know that there's going to be some grandmas out there who are totally going to accept the fact that you swear, or maybe they swear, who knows. But typically when you go for tea with your grandma, you're going to want to be, you're going to want to be on your best behavior and not use swear words. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of your friends and, someone asked you, what are you going to do this summer, or what did you do this weekend, or, what did you do in Hawaii or Mexico or wherever it is that you are, a totally appropriate way to respond to that would be, oh, I went to the beach and, I hung out with a bunch of my friends and it was totally fucking rad. That's one thing. Like, that's totally socially acceptable. But if your grandma had asked you the same question, you might respond to, oh, grandma, we just went to the beach and we, threw a ball and one time it went into the water, so I had to go for a swim. And, she'd probably respond with saying, oh, did you have a good swim, dearie? Something acceptable like that. Sometimes even swearing in front of your parents can be something that you have to weigh your pros and cons with your parents. It took me a really long time to feel comfortable swearing in front of my parents, and even now, sometimes I find it really uncomfortable to swear in front of my parents, and, my parents, personally, I don't think are going to care, especially being 24 years old. They're not going to care, but again, it's how you say things, right? If I was hanging out with my mom or dad and they were like, do you want to go for lunch at this awesome, place that I found? If I said something like, fuck yeah, they'd be totally okay with that. But if I was, talking with my mom and I looked at her, I'm like, Mom, get the fuck out of the way, she would probably backhand me across the face. There's a time and a place for things that you say or how you say them. Just like using, the C word, some people are totally and completely offended by that, and living in North America, that is a totally offensive term and an offensive word to say. But, I was watching another interview with another guy who was from Australia, and, that word was more acceptable than the word bitch was, where if he were to call his fiance or his wife a bitch, she would be totally and completely offended by it. But, call her by the C word, and she's perfectly fine with that. But then him coming to America, that kind of changed a little bit. There are other swear words that, are more socially acceptable in the English language, right? Like words shit, like when you stub your toe and you go, ah, shit. That's more acceptable than other words that you could have chosen in that scenario. And I think that's just a part of our culture now, and I don't know if it was like that back in the 70s, because I was not alive back then, but, growing up now, it's, you hear little kids at the age of, 13 years old, running their mouths and saying swears, and, no one, to the point, really cares anymore, and it's part of the way that society has kind of grown up a little bit, and, when I have children one day, am I going to allow them to swear? Probably not at a young age. And, it's going to be around. It's all over in movies now. And it's, the internet, it's something they can't avoid, and they're going to grow up learning that. And they're probably going to learn how to swear at very young ages. And it's just something that you have to adapt and teach them, proper ways to use them. And, I personally think words like fuck are a very helpful word in the English language because it can be taken in so many different forms. You can say it to insult someone, or you can say it to, show excitement or show happiness, but it can also be used to show anger and aggression. It can be used to show sadness. Like, it is such a broadened word that, if used correctly, can mean something completely different than something else. So if you're going to use it correctly, it can color up your vocabulary. And I know a lot of people say that when you swear, you're just swearing because you can't think of a better word to use. Whereas, no, I'm swearing because it's the only way that I can express that certain emotion. Sometimes saying, like, I am so happy is not, not enough, where you need to be like, I'm really fucking happy right now. Or vice versa, I'm really fucking sad right now. And sometimes you need, that's allowed, or that's acceptable. But, you can't, society has made it so that word can also mean, like, I hate you. Like, if you were ever looking at someone and being like, I fucking hate you. Things like social media and places like chat rooms and wherever else, people hide behind their keyboards and they're able to say things that they may not say in person, which is not acceptable, right? Like, I don't want to get too much into the, the whole gay thing, because I made a whole video about that, but even then, using the word gay has become so socially acceptable to call, oh, that's so gay, where really that should be considered a swear word, because you're insulting a person who is homosexual. And again, people hide behind their keyboards because it's easier to use those forms of swear words and to call somebody, a fucking retard because it's behind a keyboard and there's not going to be immediate consequences to that, whereas if you had called someone that to their face, you'd probably get punched out. And I'm not saying violence is the answer to anything, ever. Please don't go there. But, swearing, again, has a time and a place, and, I swear all the time. I mean, anybody who knows me, when I'm angry, I usually just vent, and I usually use a lot of swearing. And when I vent to myself, or, I vent to people that I know that are not going to get offended by that, or, when I swear in front of people that are, again, not going to get offended. And, you have to know when to use that language with certain people. Some people don't like swearing, or would really rather that you not, and that's perfectly fine, and that's perfectly acceptable, and you have to learn how to control what you say around certain people. And, they shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable because you're dropping the F-bomb every 5 seconds, and, they shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable because you're saying super inappropriate things. And, again, a time and a place. If you're hanging out with a bunch of your friends and you want to, say about the girl that you slept with and, talk inappropriately there, then you can, and that's acceptable for them. But, there might be that one friend that you have that doesn't particularly like swearing, or doesn't want to know what you do behind closed doors in your bedroom, and that's fine. And you, as a person, have to learn to control what you say and who accepts those two different sides of that spectrum. So those are my thoughts on swearing and inappropriate language, just in general. If you agree, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Leave a comment either on this YouTube video or my Facebook or Twitter. All those links will be in the description below or at the end of the video. Let me know what you want me to talk about next Tuesday or a following Tuesday. And thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
I don't think I'll make it hanging here another day. I wanna get spirited away.